What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Mario coming to you with another video. Here to talk about the newly highly anticipated Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I just got back from the theaters. I actually saw it twice. I saw it with my son, with my oldest, at 3 o'clock. And then right after, I went to go see it with my brothers, my homies, my friends, at 6:30. And so I had the privilege of going back to back and watching it twice. Now, I actually wrote something on Facebook, so I'll go ahead and read that first. So on my Facebook, my quick reaction out of the first showing at 3 o'clock was Spider-Man No Way Home is the most ambitious film ever made. Forget the MCU. No, I'm just kidding. Just playing LOL. But although the MCU is present, this is a Spider-Man movie. As Tom Holland said, this is a culmination of all Spider-Man franchises. But I think this is also a celebration of not just the franchise, but this character. And so, to continue, I felt the beginning was a bit rushed and almost kind of choppy, but not for too long. When it's sweeties. when it settles in, it settles in. Everything about this film worked. The action was top notch and emotions were all over the place. I think everyone will love and enjoy each and every character's interactions and callbacks and Easter eggs. This is what it's all about, people. This is why I love Spider-Man and, watching the movies. Well, not watching the movies, but this is why I love the movies, movie theaters, films, any type of film in general. Just going to get the whole theater experience. So, and I can't wait to talk about it more. Now, this is going to be a spoiler review because me personally, it's kind of hard to talk about non-spoilers whenever I talk about a movie. And so, if you're watching this and you have not seen the movie, please don't watch this video. Please watch it once you've seen the movie and you come back and return and watch my video, because yes, I will be talking about some spoilers. So are you guys ready? Okay, spoilers now. Effective now. So at the beginning it kind of felt choppy. The movie starts off with a Spider-Man, being framed by Mysterio, and so they're on the run, him and MJ. It's in the trailers. They're just on the run trying to get away from everybody. But to me, it kind of felt like fast and choppy was that they kind of went from place to place right after that. Like they went to showing them being interrogated by the police officers, and then and although I love the cameo of Matt Murdock, I truly felt it was like rushed. I kind of wish there was a like a built up to it. It kind of just happened. His cane hit the ground and then boom, he's right there, and everybody in my theater freaked out, including myself. But I just wished it was like built up, like it led up to his reveal. And so basically it kind of settles in once Peter goes to Doctor Strange. Actually, I kind of love the part where Aunt May was taking Peter his letters, the letters he was sending out to attend a college, or specifically MIT. That's the college that him, Ned, and MJ were trying to get into. So I kind of love that little montage of her, day by day bringing Peter his letters. And that, to me, starting from there is when it started settling down. Like the story just felt calm. The pacing felt a lot smoother, and it basically picks up from there. And so basically everybody wants to know, because we've had years of speculation and rumors and even leaks. So everyone wants to know if Toby and Andrew are in the film, and I can confirm that they are in this film. Before I actually talk about them, I actually kind of want to address one little my second pet peeve, because the first one was Like the very beginning, it felt like it was rushed, like I said, choppy. And the second one was the whole Ned thing. The whole Ned having the that little magic portal power thing. I mean, although I get it, in a way they kind of set us up for it because Sony put it in a clip that was shared maybe like a few days ago where Ned and MJ are brought into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they're gonna help Peter, catch the multiverse men, which is the Sinister Five. I'm not sure if there's a name for the five, but I'll just say Sinister Five. But they're brought into the Sanctum Sanctorum to go, to go help Peter, and so he tells Doctor Strange that his mom says that they have magic because there's like a little sparkle when they move their hands or something like that, and so he responds with, "You should go check your physician," which is hilarious, but. Sony and Marvel, they laid that little egg, so it pays off in the future, which, like I said, spoiler alert, he is the one who brings Andrew and Toby. Him and MJ were discussing. They weren't hearing from Peter because at that moment, the scene before, Ned and MJ were at his mom's house. Before the whole Toby and Andrew reveal, the Sinister Five escaped from Happy's apartment, and basically Green Goblin ended up killing Aunt May, and so they couldn't find Peter, and so they were worried. So MJ was gonna press the cube. I forgot the name of it, but she was gonna press the cube so that all the villains can go back to their respective universes. But right before she was about to press it, Ned said something like, "I just wish we could see Peter." And so as he was saying that, he kind of did this with his hands. And so doing that actually sparked something. And so he did it 2 more times and he perfected it, and out came Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. And like I said, I wish kind of Doctor Strange did it. I wish it was almost like Endgame. I know it's not gonna be like Endgame. They're not they're 2 different movies. I totally understand that. But I kind of wish it was more epic like that. Like Doctor Strange is the one that Doctor Strange would have been the one to bring in the reinforcements. So like I said, Ned is actually the one that brings in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and it was awesome. When they see him, they're like, "Peter, is that you?" Thinking it's Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and so you just see him like kind of like glancing at the portal, and then him running towards us. Them, but us, and he jumps out, and everybody starts freaking out, and he just looks huge. Obviously, Andrew Garfield is tall. But yeah, once he comes out of the portal, I'm like, yeah, definitely you can tell that's not our Peter Parker. One, because of the suit, and because two, like I said, he's tall. So it was like, what the? And that was a cool scene in itself. But then and I was like, all right, this isn't our Peter. Keep trying until we find our Peter. And so he did it again, and out comes the OG Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire comes out of the portal, and he was in his street clothes. And so it was kind of interesting to me because before the movie, I thought they were gonna come. I thought Ned was gonna portal them in from their universe. Like I thought Ned was the one that's gonna portal them from their universes. But it turns out that when Doctor Strange casted that spell, it actually brought all those villains and the Spider-Mans into our universe, because Andrew had mentioned something that he arrived, I believe, the day before, and same with Toby. He said that he arrived like the day before, and just by the banter, it looked like Toby knew Ned's mom, and also he was like to Ned and MJ, he was like to speaking about Andrew Garfield Spider Man. He was like, "Wait, that's not your friend." And then they had this cool little standoff, and then they like both flipped over the table and webbed each other. It was pretty cool. It was really cool to see both of them back and then looking confused and have a little standoff. It was pretty sweet. And so they eventually find Tom Holland. You know, he's grieving at I believe it was above the kids' school. I believe. I mean, I might obviously be wrong, but I think it was above their school where he was at grieving, and that's where they first met. And everything about their interactions kind of hit home to me. You know, Andrew talked about. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna call them by their real names, just so I don't, you know, because obviously they're all called Peter Parkers. So I'm just gonna call them by their real name. So it was really emotional how Andrew talked about, you know, losing Gwen in his Amazing Spider-Man franchise. It got to me, and I think, and I believe it got to a lot of people because my theater was electric. My theater reacted to everything that was happening in the movie, and so that's one of the things that they reacted to when Andrew was getting sad and talking about Gwen. Um, a lot of people said "aw," like, and it was just all quiet. You know, he broke down that, you know, that he lost Gwen, and he puts it all on himself, and he got bitter, and you know he was rageful, and that hit home, and I also enjoyed Toby's part where he said he felt the same way, that well, when he lost Uncle Ben, you know, he put it on himself, and that he wanted the man responsible dead, and when he got his wish, he was still not happy. You know, it still got to him. And obviously we can watch that, replay that movie where Spider-Man 3, where he finds out it wasn't, you know, he find out it wasn't that guy he killed. But, you know, when he got the symbiote, obviously right before he got the symbiote, that was replaying in his head. So he still had those feelings. He still felt some type of way. And basically, like Andrew, he was, you know, he felt very revengeful for that happening to Ben. And so I also thought, one of my predictions was, I believe that Toby was gonna be the one to tell Tom that with great power comes great responsibility, but actually it wasn't. It was Aunt May, and I kind of felt, and I felt it fit well. Like, I understand she had to go for the, you know, for the end of the story, which I will talk about in a bit. But I understand she had to go, and it made sense that she was the one to tell Peter with great power comes great responsibility, because you know, Ben was not, I'm gonna say in our lives, because he wasn't brought up, you know, into the MCU, so he wasn't in our lives, so we wouldn't know if Ben would have came out, if there would have been a video or something, and he was to say with great power comes great responsibility. I think to us it wouldn't mean anything, for the fact that, you know, we haven't related to him, we haven't seen him, we haven't met him, and so since we've been with Aunt May since the beginning, since Spider-Man was in the MCU, you know, it made sense for her to be the one to say with great power comes great responsibility, and a lot of people, you know, got excited when Tom was talking about, you know, and Aunt May say with great power, and then Toby was like, comes great responsibility, and he basically said that, you know, maybe she didn't die for nothing, because the last thing she did was she gave that, you know, that iconic speech with great power comes great responsibility, and also she took like the antidotes that Tom was doing to help cure the villains, so then that they could, you know, send them back to their respective universes and have their second chance. And so it, you know, it was truly emotional, and excuse me, and the whole scene where they all gotta where they all have to make each and every villain's cure. It was all funny. There was like a bunch of callbacks, a bunch of Easter eggs, and just the interactions between the characters. It's truly something to see as a Spider-Man fan. So like me, I get it. He's he's my favorite character ever, and I watched all those movies. And like I said, I understood what they were talking about, and it seemed like the movie theater I was in understood everything they were saying too. So, that was emotional. It felt good that obviously I'm not the only one who loves this character and these movies. And so they end up, having a plan. They go to the Statue of Liberty where it has the Captain America shield on it, and it was an epic finale. An epic finale. I love the part where where it had a call back to Toby in Spider-Man 2 where he's gaining his powers back and he jumps off the roof and he lands on the cars and he gets up like, oh, my back. And so I love how they did that callback where they're there and he's stretching his back out and he's just like telling Andrew, my back, he probably just has a back thing because of all the swinging. And so Andrew had to crack his back. And it's just funny, all these little callbacks. And I just thought of another callback when each and every villain was in the dungeon of Doctor Strange. Green Goblin wanted to help Peter make the first batch of antidotes like before the Spider-Man, and he was like, I'm something of a scientist myself, calling back to Spider-Man 1. And everybody got that in the theater. Everyone laughed and applauded it. But yeah. So the finale was amazing. Like I said, they end up fighting all the villains, but they're not fighting as a team. And so there was a scene where like Tom Holland shot a web across, and like I believe it was one of the other ones. It was either Toby or Andrew. They were swinging by and they hit themselves on the web. So they weren't fighting as a team yet. And so I love when they had a moment to talk about it, get a game plan and strategize. They're like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. And so Toby says to I believe he's the one that says to pick one target at a time. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's Andrew. But basically, yeah, they said they were gonna start with one person, take them out at a time, and then move on to the next one. And that scene was great because then they all put on their masks, and they just jumped, and you could just hear all of them just go woo, like it was just amazing that little swing that they did. And then of course, they had the signature superhero Spider-Man pose right when they finished that swing, right on top of the Lady Liberty, or the Statue of Liberty, sorry, or it's probably both. I don't think it matters, but yeah. And it's actually the shot right before in the trailer where it's just one Spider-Man jumps and goes into battle against the Sandman, Lizard, and Electro. Yep, as we all predicted it, all three Spider-Man were in that shot. And the Lizard does get his neck broken by, I believe it was Andrew Spider-Man. And so, yeah, they all got it together. They all took each villain one by one. And, Ned and MJ saved the day too by taking down Kirk Connors, the Lizard. And then that was basically it. Well, it wasn't basically it, but right before they think they're done. Well, before I say right before they're done, I love the callbacks to when they cured Electro. I love that. Interaction between Andrew Garfield, the Spider-Man, and Max Dillon. Because obviously the history from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it was wholesome. It definitely was. And then I think what kind of got me more was Tobey Maguire and Doc Ock. That one kind of hit me more. Doc Ock's like, you've grown. How are you? And then Peter just said, I'm trying to do better, which is basically what he told him in Spider-Man 2. And so, like I said in my review right here, all these, each and every character's interactions was just amazing. It truly was amazing to see these characters again, and to see new characters interact with other new characters. And yeah, I mean, I think that's why I love this movie more. More the action was amazing. It was a new um how do you say it? The action was different. It's not like any other original Spider-Man. it, this is new. This is definitely new fighting styles. And so the fighting between the first round between Goblin and Tom Spider Man was amazing. And then I didn't even talk about the bridge scene. The bridge scene that we were all that Sony kept feeding us throughout the trailers and throughout pictures and stuff. But that whole bridge scene was amazing between him and Doc Ock. The special effects are just top notch. So yeah, it was a different fighting style. The finale, like I said, um, they cured all the villains, and the last one was Green Goblin. And so right when he re-entered the scene, he ended up bombing where the platform where everyone was at, and and it's that shot in the trailer. He bombs MJ, and she's fallen, and you see Tom going after her, and I think a lot of people predicted it, if not hoped, that it was actually Andrew's Spider-Man that was gonna, save her. And sure enough, it was. And it was a beautiful moment because obviously from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, he couldn't save Gwen, and so Tom is reaching out for her, and boom, Green Goblin hits him, and you hear his laugh in slow motion, and then it turns to Andrew, and he screams like no, and then he leaps, jumps like full force and catches her, and it was a beautiful moment where he asked if she's okay, and she said yeah, all shaken up, and then she sees his face as we all do, and he's kind of emotional, damn near crying, and she asked if he's okay, and he said yeah. Like I said, it's a nice payback to the Amazing Spider-Man 2 because for the fact that he didn't save Gwen, that was just beautiful. And so then it's a WWE Monday Night Raw fight scene between Tom and Green Goblin. Tom, damn, he was raging so hard. Um, I kind of thought he was gonna kill Green Goblin, but I should have suspected that the other Spider Man wouldn't let him because that's not what Spider Man does. And so yeah, sure enough, Tom kicks his ass, Green Goblin's ass, and right before he finishes the strike, Toby, Toby comes in between them and stops him from impaling Green Goblin with his own glider. And so it was a beautiful moment. I got scared too when because it was a nice moment, but the two Spider-Man are kind of focused on one another that they just forgot about Green Goblin, and so I got scared when you just hear like a and then you see Toby like ugh, and he goes down, man. Toby got shanked. um Thankfully he didn't die. Thankfully he did not die. But he got shanked, and then right after that, Andrew throws the cure to Tom, and boom, gets the Goblin and cures him, and he doesn't have those voices. He doesn't have the super soldier serum. I would just say it's a super soldier serum, and he basically just becomes human. And I know I didn't say it, but when I mean cure, the villains. That's what I mean. They lose their abilities. They become human, like basically human again. And so that was it. And before that, before the final fight happened between Tom and Green Goblin, um, Goblin put a bomb in that cube that Doctor Strange was holding the broken spell, and it exploded. And it was really cool, the effects of how it showed the bomb affecting the world, how it split the multiverse, and you got to see little glimpses in the purple lighting, old original Spider-Man villains. There was one shadow that I quickly saw, and it was Scorpion, and then another shot, it was a Rhino in his classic Rhino suit. So I thought that was cool. Whenever I rewatch it, I will definitely keep an eye out for the other figures that are in the purple lighting. Hopefully, you guys get to see more. But those are the only two that I caught. I did actually catch someone else with a staff, but it was so quick that I was like, I don't know who that was, and so I looked to my left, and then there was one of a clear Scorpion. So I'm like, oh, obviously that's Scorpion, and then and yeah, so I mean, that's what Doctor Strange was talking about when he said, they're coming through. I can't hold it. They were about to be unleashed, but you know, not Toby. Tom ends up saying that if he goes through with the spell, if everyone forgets he's Peter Parker, then that will stop the madness from happening because they're all coming there. He can't stop everyone from coming to that universe because everyone knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So Tom said, you know what? It's time to do it. That no one will remember Peter Parker. Everyone will forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And so it was sad. Obviously, he was losing his best friends and Ned. It was an emotional scene. And then his girlfriend MJ, aka his real life girlfriend, Tom's real life girlfriend Zendaya. And it was sad. And he said he was gonna go find him in the end. And he did, but he didn't tell them. And he said he would tell them their story, so that they can remember that he will fix it. But he didn't. Obviously they're going into college. They went to MIT, and the fact that Tom lost Aunt May, Peter Parker, Peter lost Aunt May. He didn't have anybody, and I think throughout this movie, especially with the other Spider-Man, you got to see Tom's growth as Peter. He's a very intellectual kid, and so I love that scene where Tom and Doctor Strange were fighting. They were in the mirror dimension, and he I forgot the shape he noticed, but he said that basically that was like physics or geometry, and he knew what that was. So he webbed like different areas of the dimension, and he was able to trap Doctor Strange in it. And he's very smart. And also another part too that I actually truly loved, that showed how powerful Spider-Man is. Well, not just that, but his spider sense, how powerful that mechanism is for him. In the trailer, we see Doctor Strange take him out of his astral form, and in the movie when he did that, he still had control of his arm. Like Doctor Strange was trying to grab the cube from Spider-Man's arm, but he was dodging it. He still had control of it, and then he's out in his astral form, and then he just, like, his spider sense is going off, and then he's able to swim back into his body. To me, I freaked out inside. I don't think I didn't show it to people or like yell it out, but inside I was like, wow, Spider-Man, or the spider sense, he's a truly strong character. And so yeah, I freaked out with that part. He was able to beat Doctor Strange. And so, and yeah, and like I said, when they were all trying to plan to how to take down the Sinister Five, he was the one to say, everybody cool it. We need to have a plan. we're doing this, we're doing that, go left, go right. Peter 1, go right, Peter 2, go left. Even if it's vice versa, if he said it the other way in the movie. But yeah, he's coming to his own. He's growing, and I think a lot of people, a lot of fans wanted to see that. They wanted to see Peter grow in these movies. A lot of people. I mean, me personally, I didn't want like characters to die or whatever, but basically people just wanted Spider-Man to be on his own because everyone felt he was babied by Tony Stark. And Aunt May. He's always had someone there, like Happy Hogan, someone there for him. Because it means to me, I grew up with the '90s cartoons, and so he was usually on his own. He only had Aunt May, and also like in the original Spider-Man movies, yeah, they all had Uncle Ben, Aunt May, but for the most part, he was on his own. He had to deal with his own problems, and he always had that struggle of becoming Spider-Man or being Spider-Man. Sorry, but towards the end of the movie, it took a lot of power, it took a lot of guts for him not to go through telling Ned and MJ like who he is and that they're actually best friends and stuff. And he had a smile on his face, and I mean, who knows? He might talk to them. They might still be with Spider-Man in the future or come back into the franchise. But I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was beautifully done. That they showed his growth and they continued throughout the end of the movie. And so yeah, um, he doesn't end up telling Ned and MJ. He gets an apartment, and then he doesn't have a Tony Stark suit, to go to. He ends up making his own suit, and then in that final swing, he had the classic Spider-Man suit. It was so beautiful. I mean, I wish we had a better look at it because he was swinging in lights because it was Christmas time at that time, and so yeah, it was all snowy, and there was just you saw it's bright so you can see it, but you can't see it, because it's nighttime. It was a lot of snow, and it was just it would brighten up when light would be flashed on him. And so, he has his own suit, his own place, and that concludes this homecoming trilogy. You know, I thought it was beautifully done. The fact that they were able to bring Toby and Andrew and still keep it about Tom was just fascinating. I love the growth that Tom's Peter showed throughout this movie and how it ended. Obviously, I'm sad that MJ and Ned can't remember, or that he didn't tell them, but I think it's gonna take the character to another level. More in line with the comics. And yeah, I'm just glad everybody was able to see, his journey of, of him being recruited by Tony Stark to, being Tony Stark's basically sidekick, and to now, he's his own man, he's his own person, he's his own Spider-Man. And it was just, the whole thing is just beautifully done. And so, post-credit scene was amazing. It had to do with Venom. He was like out there drunk in Mexico, and then he actually ended up being transported back to, his Sonyverse. But without it happening, a piece of Venom was left behind. A piece of Venom was left behind. So to me, I feel like that is gonna lead to the symbiote coming into Spider-Man, because like in Spider-Man 3 with Toby, because he lost Ben, and the whole Ben case was coming back, and the symbiote got on him. Obviously he wasn't in a right state of mind, and that's when the symbiote struck, got him, and it took over. So I'm kind of excited. I hope it happens in this next movie or the next appearance that we see Spider-Man in, because he's not gonna be in the right state of mind because he lost everything and everybody. So he'll be getting his confidence back and all these emotions back. And what a great way to have him get past that than with the symbiote on him. So eventually, it's gonna happen. But that means we have to get a Eddie Brock in the MCU, because obviously we already have Eddie Brock, Tom Hardy in the Sony, which he went back. But now the Venom symbiote stayed back in the MCU. So that means we gotta see and meet a new Eddie Brock. But at first, when I'm gonna level with y'all. At first I had seen, or yeah, actually seen, and I also heard about the leak where where it was the post credit scene and Tom Hardy goes back to Sonyverse. I was kind of like pissed off about it. I'm like, what? Why would they bring Tom Hardy into this universe, not utilize him, and then send him back? What I thought was clever was that when they were all the three Spider-Man were talking, Tom asks like who were like what are some of the crazy villains that they fought. Toby said that he fought an alien, like made out of black goo, and so I'm like, that makes sense, because he's talking about Topher Grace's Eddie Brock slash Venom. That symbiote remembers, especially at the end of Let There Be Carnage. He mentions that that the symbiotes have like thousands of years of memories and thousands of years of past memories in them. And so and obviously right before he was gonna show Eddie Brock, they got transported into the MCU. But yeah, to me that made sense. I'm like, oh my god, so that's canon. He did fight, because obviously Sandman's in there. So I thought actually I didn't think, because Sandman was in there. Honestly, I didn't think that they were gonna talk about Venom, because there is a Tom Hardy version now. But to me, it made sense that basically that Topher Grace Venom is canonized, and so that Toby talking about that made sense as to why Tom's Hardy's Venom is there, because of the symbiote. The symbiote knows who Spider-Man is. That's kind of why too. At that post credit scene for Let There Be Carnage, he was like that guy and licked the scene and licked licked the television screen where Tom's face was, because he recognizes Spider-Man. And so that made perfect sense. Obviously, they made the decision for everyone to forget Spider-Man, which lured all the villains to go back into their respective universes, and that's why Tom Hardy's Venom ended up going back to the Sonyverse. It made sense, man. It's crazy how you read one thing and like you're pissed off about it, but then don't actually see the movie to get the full context of it. So I love that. I really loved it. And so yeah, I'm curious to see who the new Eddie Brock is, and also if there's another trilogy in the MCU. I'm sure they'll bring in Gwen, but I don't want them to actually bring her in, because the fact that everyone knows Gwen dies in the comics. So we can't keep having our boy Peter be hurt. But that's a possibility, to have Gwen appear in the MCU, but also hopefully a Harry Osborn for sure. And then the last post credit scene isn't a post credit scene, but it's actually the trailer to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and that looked really good. So don't forget to say so after the credits, because there's the trailer to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Well, that concludes my discussion slash review. That's the only way I will talk about it, if it's like spoilers, if I talk about everything. So hopefully the people who watch this movie watch this video, and hopefully the people who didn't watch the movie Well, I guess you could still watch my video if you don't care about spoilers. But I prefer that you guys watch the movie before you guys watch my video, because yeah, as I said right before, I went into some heavy spoilers. So, thank you guys for tuning in. What did you guys think about the movie and Spider-Man Forever? Now, this is your boy Mario. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.